Okay, welcome to episode 18, season 3 of Dads and Dragons. I am Jamie, and I'm joined, as always, by the rather handsome and the most average player I know, Lawrence.
Well, how's it going, mate?
How you doing, buddy?
Good enough. Good enough.
We're not going to do the chat stuff because we've got someone really, really important with us today.
Very special.
Very special. She's a writer. She's an actress. She's a singer-songwriter. She's worked with D&D. She's written books. Candlekeep Mysteries.
Yep.
I've dropped it finally. She's written for Dungeons in a Box. She's appeared on Critical Role. She's done everything that we've all wanted to do.
Yeah.
She's got a YouTube channel where she helps people become better players and helps with the game. It is the rather wonderful Amy Vorphal.
Yay! It's me!
Yes! Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. Dads and Dragons, here we are. We're all dads here.
That's it. Yeah. So the first thing I really want to ask you really is, like, especially with everything that's going on around the world, is how are you over there? How is things?
Man, things are really good, which is so odd to say, but it really is. We a little blink into the life of me in my personal life. My boyfriend and I met about 6 months before the lockdown happened.
Yeah.
So we were, newly in love and falling in love and not ready to move in yet. And then pandemic hit.
Must have put the pressure on the moving in thing. Well,
not just that, but what's fun is, so it has a happy ending, just to put that out there. But his mother and I and my twin all share the same birthday. On March 13th. So we were going to Shiloh's parents' house, which is in Northern California, about a 7-hour drive. And we were going there to celebrate the birthday and then go see a play up in San Francisco. And they've got this beautiful redwood forest property. They named it Redwood Shire because it's 15 acres. It's literally a forest of redwood trees. They've got a house with a pool and a hot tub and land and a meadow and a glade. And then there's a back house that's also kind of like, it was their art studio, but they built it into a functioning house with a bathroom and kitchen and everything. And anyway, so we were there March 13th, and that's when it was like, not, we can't go to, the play is not happening, nothing's happening. And we were like, great, this is, as far as pandemics go, this is great. We'll just stay in the forest. And then it turned into, well, why would we ever leave? And then it turned into, we just don't have to, because they have great internet. They have better internet than I do. Like, it was all
the dream up there.
Living the dream. And I always, it's like, well, people are like, wow, you just moved in with him and his parents. And it's like, well, sort of, but they're great. They love playing games. We played D&D with them a couple of times. And then also we have the back house too. So it wasn't like we were on top of each other all the time. It was very healthy, I thought.
And acres of rolling land.
Amazing.
And then, yes, and I would go, they got a dog, and I run. And so I would run their dog. Like, they got a puppy, and so he needed a lot of exercise, and I was, able to help that way. And we would cook for them, and they would cook for us. And it was like a weird little, we had our own little commune. Yeah, for most of the pandemic. And now, especially in LA for a while, it was opened up. We're kind of a little bit more cautious now, but we came back and started, like, some jobs were reappearing and some freelance gigs. So we're still here in Los Angeles right now. But yeah, like, if we just have this awesome place to go to. So that's how I'm doing. It's better than most, I'd say.
Yeah, I was going to say, because where we live, we've all got access to beautiful rolling hills and cliffs and seaside and coasts and beaches. And I thought we were doing pretty good, but it sounds like we're doing rubbish.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. It just sounds like what a great place to get locked down. I know.
Yes, exactly. It was. We look back on, it's just going to be such a cool memory, I think. And it already is. It's like, and we knew it while we were in it. We were like, we're so lucky because, a bunch of my friends, and especially my single friends, who were just kind of stuck in their 1-bedroom apartment. Like they
That's what I was going to say.
suffered.
1-bedroom apartment people, like, what do? They can't go out. That's it.
Yeah, and if you're seeing, I don't know, they just suffered. I know everyone suffers, but I don't know. That feels like a new level to be single in the pandemic in your own apartment feels so tragic. And
so you mentioned then that you got an opportunity to play Dungeons and Dragons, and that's kind of what we're here to talk about today.
Okay,
but I'd like you to tell me how it is that you got into TTRPG and role play games. And was D&D your first, or was it Warhammer, or was it something else? Yeah. What was it?
It was definitely Dungeons and Dragons, and I started playing later than people might think. I started playing. I didn't even know about it until it was my first day of college. I was a freshman, and my cousin went to the same college, University of Oklahoma, and she brought a friend by, and I was decorating my dorm room, and I had about no fewer than 9 Lord of the Rings posters hanging up, and then there was also a Yoda Mosaic poster where it was like scenes from stills from Return of the Jedi, all pasted together to look like Yoda's face.
You'd made that?
I had no. I wish I just bought a print of it, but
sorry.
I wish. I'm not that visually artistic, but the friend Nathan saw the posters and knew that I was an acting major, and he just kind of did the math for me and was like, boy, have I got a game for you. And
you're going to love this.
Yes. And so we played 3.5 edition. It was either that night or the very next day. And so that's where I got my feet wet. And then I kind of just never stopped playing ever since. And then I didn't, it was, 2010 or 11, I guess, when I actually started streaming it and doing it, kind of performance-y on the internet. And then that, as you know, took off as well. That's how I got in, was just D&D 3.5.
That's amazing. So when did that then turn into writing? When did that kind of like that love of the game, I'm going to write my own and publish it? And
well, so writing in general was never a goal until I moved out. I always just wanted to be an actor, but you don't really know what that means necessarily, because it can mean so many different things.
That's broad. That's broad.
It's pretty broad. So when I moved to LA, and it was 2007 in January, and I immediately I was so sick of Tennessee Williams and Arthur Miller and like that kind of level of scene stuff.
American reading list sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And we focused so hard on that in college that I was kind of like, well, I think I did it. I think I really did it. And I actually was kind of burnt out on Shakespeare too. So it was
just to blame the Brits as well. Why not?
Yeah, it wasn't just American reading.
It wasn't just American legends. It was British ones as well, okay?
Yeah, all the English, name it. What was the Eugene O'Neill? We can get into Irish too. Screw everybody.
Yeah, I can't. That's where my expertise ends. GCSE, year 9, I'm done.
So that turned into me taking improv classes and sketch writing classes. And that's when I actually started writing and realizing, if I write stuff, that means I can act more. And so that turned into, a bit of a writing, not a career really, but I just liked it more because I had more control over the characters I played and the wigs I wore. Yourself. And yes, exactly. And making little videos. So that was the first time I had written or even tried to write anything. And then fast forward to later on, I got into longer form, like writing half hours and features. And I've had a fairly good success in that realm as well. But bringing it back to adventure writing, my friend David Crennan, that I met through the internet world of playing D&D, but I knew him in person. He started Dungeon in a Box. And when he started, I was like a patron of it because I was like, well, this is awesome. I love this stuff. It's also, I'm supporting my friend, and it's great. It's great stuff. It's a subscription box where each month you get a new full adventure and then all the minis and maps that go along with that adventure. And it was so cheap. At the time, it was like $30 a month, and it was insane how much value I felt I was getting, and especially the writing. Like, it was mainly like the writing. I was like, well, that takes a load off of everything, but that's where he was struggling too, of like trying to come up with a new adventure every month.
So
and write it
in and all the rest of it. Was it? That's where you fit in with the writing.
It is, yes. He put out a call to his friends going, does anyone want to help write adventures? I can't just hire anyone. Write a free adventure, or like a speculative adventure, and then we'll see from there. And he wound up choosing mine. And then I wrote a couple with him, and it was awesome. And then that led to one tweet where Chris Perkins tweeted out, has anyone ever written, this is over the course of years, right? Like this, right. Within 2 weeks, this all happened, but I would say over the course of 2 or 3 years. Yeah, go ahead.
Just clearing my throat.
Okay. So Chris Perkins tweeted, have any of you written adventures? And a bunch of people replied, and I was like, actually, I have. And so I replied to his tweet. And we had known each other from playing in games. I don't know how many games, but of course I knew of him, and I was like, But I had played in games with him before, and I think it was like at different cons and, just different places. But I know he knew who I was, but then, whatever. And then I guess a year goes by and I get an email from Wizards of the Coast going, hey, we'd love for you to be a contributing writer if you want. And my first response was, oh my God, wrong Amy. You guys have the wrong person. I don't know.
Oh, that's so sweet. You got the wrong one. Oh.
Yeah. I was like, I can't tell what is, and it wound up being legit. And they did want me to write an adventure. And then that was Candlekeep Mysteries. And that was a lot of work. And I almost had to do a page 1 rewrite just because of wrapping my head around how to write an adventure versus how to DM an adventure. And then this is the last part. We recently announced that I play the voice, or I wrote the voice of Fizbin in Fizbin's Treasury of Dragons that's coming out this fall, which is a new D&D compendium book. And the way I got that job is in Candlekeep Mysteries, I guess my mystery that I wrote is the silliest mystery, which I did. Everyone's like, it's so silly. And I'm like, is it? I really did try to write a pretty grounded mystery, but I guess the Amy Vorphal stank got all up on it. And we got some silliness out of it. So then when they were looking for the voice of Fizbin, Chris Perkins told James Wyatt was the project lead for Fizbin, and so Chris Perkins pointed him to me, like, I think Amy might be just the silly voice you're looking for, and that's how they asked, and I was like more than happy to do it, because that feels like a good Venn diagram of my skills, which is a ton of comedy mixed with like tweets, and some of them I wrote a little bit like sing-songy, and then also D&D, lots of Venn diagram crossover there. And I think they nailed it, and I hope I did too. I hope I nailed it. Hopefully. Well,
that's where I want to actually jump in, because I can flatter you without trying to kiss your butt too much, because Jamie actually came to. Did I buy this book for you?
You might have done.
I think I bought this book for Jamie. Okay, so every birthday comes around, I buy something. James buys something for me. Okay, so we bought Candlekeep Mysteries. Jamie, before we ever knew anything that was going to happen with you, was like, have you read the level 9 one? Have you read the deconstruction? I was like, no, I haven't. This was his favorite one out of the book. I can say that with all fairness, okay? That brings me neatly into my...
Is it silly? Do you read it as is it a silly adventure? I'm always curious.
I wouldn't say silly, but it's the right level of, you
disregard.
Do it in an hour. So it's and then you can legitimately lose your character here.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. Yeah,
but it's the right level of bonkers at the same time. It's got everything I need in an adventure for me. I like to have that, especially playing a bard. I need all those things.
Yeah.
It's absolutely perfect for me.
Okay, good.
So the question I was going to ask was, where did you get the inspiration? So you had to sit down. So the Wizards have called you up. I wanted to ask you more about that and how that happens, but we're probably just not going to have time for everything. But
that's a quick answer. That was just an email. It was just a real quick email. My email's everywhere. Anyone can find my email. I do not hide my information online. And they found it and emailed me. And I was like, my first reaction was like, I'm not sure you emailed the right person. They were like, yes, we are. Yes, we want you. Okay. And then I was like, okay, then the answer is yes. So it was just a real quick back and forth.
I've done that a few times where you're going to get an official email from something or. So I go up there and I check the email and I check it's legit and this is.
Oh my God, I did. I was like, okay, well, this person emailed me. It was Bill, so I was like, look on Twitter, Bill. Okay, that he's legit.
Choose that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, so yeah, double checking on the internet, like.
Because I actually, before top of the show, me and Jamie were just talking. And I said, I wonder what it's like to get a call from Wizards. You know, like everybody wants that call, don't they? You know, do you mind doing some work for us, some freelance or however it is that they send you a paycheck or whatever? And you're like, we've all striving towards that. You know, that you lived the dream, didn't you?
Yes, I'm gonna look up because this is important to me. Because you guys seem to be excited about it too. Email.
I must say, I'm disappointed they sent you an email. You know, I
thought an eagle would fly in.
Definitely, eagle. even like a row of trumpeters or someone with a scroll or something. You know, come up and that's what I would have wanted.
A little bit disappointed that it was an email, but we'll live with it. Okay, so Amy, for anyone who's listening to this on podcast, is scrolling through her bank details. I think right now to check where it came from.
And I can only find the second. I can only find the second one where he acknowledges
that he's not taking the mic.
Who was it? Maybe. No, I mean, yeah, I guess it was. I don't know. I guess I didn't. Yeah, it's all over the place. I think Gmail separates it by not necessarily by time, but time. Anyway, it was I know that this says. Oh yes, actually no, this isn't. It says. The email says writing for Wizards of the Coast, which you're like, and then it's from Bill Benham.
Yeah, spam.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He said, okay, so if you're receiving this email, it means I reached out to you in the last couple of days about contributing to an upcoming. And I was like, well, where's that email? But that was a DM on Twitter. So he DM'd, Bill popped into my DMs on Twitter. Wow, it's really good to know that this is the. Oh, yeah. So he just DM'd me. What's your preferred email address? There's an upcoming writing project I'd like to talk to you about.
As if the answer would ever be no. Who's ever
yeah. Oh my God.
I don't want solid work and national fame. I don't want it.
Yeah, I'll give you a fake email address, actually. Who do you think you are? Yeah.
So I should finally. I'm going to answer this. I'm going to ask this question if it kills you. Okay. What is the inspiration? What was the inspiration for Candlekeep? Did you sit down in front of the computer and pluck something, or did you develop something for years, like JK, or?
No, I had never. I mean, I'd written those 2 adventures for David for Dungeon in a Box before, and only one of them was like my like seed baby. The other ones, he has this 12 episode arc or 12 adventure arc for like a longer campaign. And so he was kind of giving me the bullet points. But it's not like I had sat there and gone, oh, if I ever wrote an adventure, it would be this. I really did sit down and think, so it's Candlekeep, and they sent me all the like flavor text about what the library was. And that was the biggest inspiration. I was like, well, I guess the inspiration was, how do I mess this up? Like, how do I really go in there, look at this adorable lore that they have, and now I'm going to like infuse it with some like, gotcha stinker mentality.
So the first thing to do is what went flash through your mind there is, how am I going to make this bonkers? And you were asking us like, it's not bonkers.
it was more like, yeah, I guess so. I guess that is just where my mind goes. But I definitely wanted to take something for Candlekeep, and I think I was the only one who said it in Candlekeep, and it's really just, going, all right, it's Candlekeep, but no, but it's not, or it's something else, or, I don't want to give too much away for the adventure if anyone hasn't read it, but
that's true.
It's just, it's like, it's Candlekeep, but then, oh, no, it's not. This tower is something else.
If you've read it, you know.
If you read it, you know. And it really was the first thing I thought of after reading it. I was like, okay, I want it to be this. And I guess the first draft of it was a lot more investigation around what the tower was. And and then a lot of the rewrite was, it is just this thing. They can find out this thing pretty early on. If like there are ways for them to find it out early on. It doesn't change the length of the adventure or what they want to do. But I was trying to hide that for like most of the pages was like, oh, go here, go there, like write out the investigation kind of situation. But that was kind of the main change was just like, they'll investigate if they want. If they don't have to. Stop trying to write what the players are going to do.
Yeah. Just want to railroad. You want to railroad someone through it, do you?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you've read it. There are. I mean, it's like room after room of defining like, oh, you can find out the information this way or that way or this way, or you'll never know unless you go to this room that this works like this. And it is kind of written like a bit of an escape room, but you need all the clues in order for the thing to happen. So it was what is the PG word for this? It was a mind muck.
It was mind torment, should we say?
Yes.
I know James got a question, but I just want to just very quickly ask, how long did it take from bang the bullets to knock it out?
I think, okay, so I had an easy time of it because they just said yes to a lot. Like when I pitched them this, they were like, great. Like literally Chris Perkins wrote back, that sounds delightful. And I was like, awesome. And I had made the entire, just so you know, I made the entire Candlekeep library of a thing. And he was like, maybe not the entire library, maybe just a tower. And I was like, that's fair. So I did swing for the fences, but that was, so to answer your question, I guess it was under a year, but not much under a year, because they contacted me, I guess around it just takes a while. So they contacted me, we got the pitches in, then it was like start writing, and then you start writing, and I had plenty of time to write it, and then the pandemic happened and they were able to extend deadlines. But for my sanity, I was like, I do not want to extend the deadline because I need it to be done. Yeah, but then getting the notes back and rewriting took a little, like just getting those notes back, because he's giving notes on 17 freaking adventures. So I think they gave us about 6 weeks to 2 months to write each time that it was our turn to write, which is so good and plenty of time.
That was sort of 6 weeks to 2 months was computer screen time, should we say, like
and I got to pitch them something, then I got to write the first draft, and I felt like I had plenty of time. Did I really use all 6 weeks of it, or did I use only the last week? We'll never know. And then the same thing for the second, and then I got to do a rewrite. And then what was interesting was they said, okay, well, thank you for this. We'll let you know. The whole way they were like, just so you know, at any point your adventure might not make it into the book, which was, a little heartbreaking. Really? But yeah, at any point, the adventure might just not be chosen, or it would be shelved or whatever, but it still belonged to D&D, even if it didn't get published. And it was just an exercise in maintaining your sanity. That was always in the back of my head, and I know it shouldn't have been, but it was just like, oh, I could do all this work and it still may not get published.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very lucky that it did get published, especially considering how freaking silly and weird it is. But yeah. And then just the time to publish, between the second / final draft and publishing, I didn't know. I knew they had changed some stuff. They said we're going to play test it and send it to the editor, and they may or may not reach out to you with changes. And I was like, oh my God, let me know. Like if there's changes, I really want to make this as good as it can be. And it was just radio silence, and then it was published. And I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones where I read it and I was like, this, I feel like I wrote 80%, if not more, of this. Like they changed some things to make it way more streamlined, thank goodness. And the way they changed it, I felt like improved the adventure. But because they're, so skilled at writing. But I felt so honored. Like it wasn't a night and day difference. Especially the core, all the core stuff is exactly the same. My monster's the same. There were just a lot, the maps were the same, the rooms were the same. There was so much about the stuff that I had written that was like, yep. And the tone was the same. Everything was like, so
perfect.
But it was definitely in my head, like, wow, I'm not getting access to this adventure and they're just going to publish something. They could publish it, say that I wrote it, and it might not feel like mine, but I didn't have that happen.
Oh, well, that's lucky. Yeah. I mean, like this is the bit now where we're going tell Lawrence to go make a cup of tea, because the writers are going to talk now. Okay?
Yeah,
Lawrence,
because I'm not. I'm not a writer.
No, I'm not. But I'm not. But like in our group of myself and Lawrence and the kids and our friends, I tend to DM quite a bit, so we've kind of got this.
You tend to do everything quite a bit.
It's a bit of advice, really. I have all these ideas. I have these ideas for adventures, and I can never really kind of join them and make sense of them. So I've got this idea and I get really excited about this idea, and then I sit there looking at my page. But how do you get in that zone? How can you kind of get to write?
Well, the first thing that I guess writing to be a dungeon master is so different from writing a D&D adventure that's going to be published. And the main thing is deadlines help. I'll just say that nothing would get done for me if there weren't like the people are coming over to play. We have to play something. So without that, it's just, I don't know if it would ever happen. But same thing with this, the deadlines were kind of like a kick in the butt that I needed. Yeah. The other thing for dungeon mastering, it's mainly what I've done is like, I decided I mainly, because I like role playing a lot, so it's mainly a list. I decide on some characters, I practice some characters' voices and stuff like that, and then I really define some geographical locations, and that's about it. Like there, and then I mean there's like an overarching like theme or like what I'm trying to do and what the task is, but I don't want to ham fist it too much. Yeah. Because half the time I'll be like, oh, this is how it's going to happen.
Say already,
And then they're like,
and then they chase the cat off into the corner, and you're like, it's nothing to do with the cat.
Yes. Or they go, oh, this is because we did that, and they link some stuff together that I hadn't thought of, and I'm like, yes, that's what it was all along. Yes, and I just use their ideas, and they just are like, oh, this is because that one guy that we talked to, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so now we're bringing like it's just weird where their brains go, and I'm like, it's always right because.
Why shouldn't it be?
Yeah. Why shouldn't it be? It makes me seem smart. It makes them seem smarter. So it's like I'm done. I'm done doing too much, I guess, when I DM. But for writing an adventure, that was the main rewrite. Like it was almost a page one full rewrite because I was writing plot and story, which was very deftly told to me by Chris Perkins that you can't write plot and story without the main characters, which are the players. So stop writing plot and story and just write the playground. Like, say what's going on in the playground. In this room, this is what's happening. Interact with it however you want, but this is what's happening. If you've done this, maybe these characters have already gone, these NPCs have already gone over here. In that case, this is what's happening. But that's it. That's it. This is what's happening. Interact with it how you want. And it was such a mind. It didn't make sense.
This is about letting you talk. But like, I've written pages of script for NPCs and wasted hours. They didn't even end up talking to the NPC. Stop writing that. Write the playground. You just said it.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to say. I just wanted to nod that point, you know.
Exactly. It was, but it changed my brain because I was. It was just like it felt. It actually. It's hard to say if it was more. It was definitely. I think it was less fun. All told, because I would rather play a D&D game than write a letter to someone who is about to play a D&D game, which is what an adventure actually is. But I get joy out of it knowing that people are reading it and playing it. It's just a different. It's more isolating, and I've only played it actually once with a group of friends. My adventure, which is fine and good, and I don't really ever want to play. I don't know. I don't need to play it again. But it's like, what I've said before is it's more like writing an IKEA manual versus what you think it is, which is writing a murder mystery. And you're like, it's not that. You're just writing a manual of how to, like a guidebook, which is fine.
I suppose, yeah.
So, okay, aside from, Candlekeep Mysteries, let's just knock that one out straight away. Do you have a favorite D&D book? Do you have a favorite D&D run that you've played through, or?
No, and the reason is because I don't actually like playing pre-written adventures.
Do you homebrew?
What?
Do you homebrew everything?
Yeah, I do, because I don't. It's what I guess I like the settings, and I love getting inspiration from the books, and then but sometimes the stories are either they're always very complex, but sometimes that's a little bit it's too much, I guess, because I would rather play people's backstories, and sometimes and I'm lucky enough that the players I play with have really cool backstories, and I'd rather start at Waterdeep and some stuff's going down, but then the person who's who they really want to kill or get revenge on or meet or find or save has to do more with their backstory, and sometimes that doesn't fit into a thief of a Waterdeep protecting sigil.
Yeah.
Like
it's a lot more organic, isn't it, that way?
Yeah, and I'd rather it be like that, where it's like, oh, we're gonna go over here and do this, and they've got their own plans, and that's actually how it's. Anytime I start trying a pre-written adventure, I think it's a great starting place and a great source of inspiration.
Yeah.
But it never feels satisfying to really go past chapter 1 of whatever it is, because it's like, well, they've got their own things that they want to do, and who am I to be like, no, we're going to meet Xanathar. It's time. We have to meet Xanathar now.
Says here, we're going to meet him.
Yeah.
It's quite funny you say that, because although I do have I have several books I do enjoy, we haven't finished one.
No, we've finished the book.
No, I'm forever. And I'm talking about books then. I got this the other day, and this I am so excited to use. Have you seen this before?
Mm-mm.
For those who can't see, it's called Roll and Play, and it is full of tables. And it's so again, when someone throws you under the bus because they've decided not to go into the inn, you can just find stuff in here and just roll it and just carry on. And I have to agree. I think that we do that a lot, don't we?
Yeah.
We play the first 2 chapters, if that.
Yeah. The nail on the head, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice. It is nice to have, but I love having the intricacies of the world that has been built, and then it may or may not come into play. And it's good for if you run out of ideas, like you said, or if it does become the main plot line at some point, or you can take from it and be like, well, it's not that, and actually it's not Xanathar, it's that guy from your past. Like,
I just want these monsters or whatever preset.
Yeah, exactly.
I also just like having loads of those books around. I tend to collect them. Yeah. So as much as we haven't played them, but I'm like, oh, look at my lovely Dungeons and Dragons collection there. Isn't it great? Look at that.
They do bring me great joy, and they gave us writers the regular copy of Candlekeep Mysteries with the regular art, and then the bumped up version, and the bumped up version. It's in the other room. It's so lovely. It's just so nice to look at. I've done a bunch of Marie Kondo tidying up in my apartment, and the RPG books are they're just not going to go anywhere. They do bring me joy just to look at. Like you said, it's like, oh, look at that.
It's just stare at them just all day. You said earlier about with your stories and with your when you're playing, and you like the backstories of the characters and things like that. When you're playing, do you have like a favorite class, race, an old character that you like? Where do you tend to go to as a player?
I think as a player, as far as class, I will really. It's hard for me not to choose Warlock or Druid.
Okay.
And I think the Warlock is because I like making the Dungeon Master talk to me as my demon.
It's about making other people awkward. Yeah.
Yes, it's about making other people improvise with me. And then the Druid is just, I guess it's the same thing. I like being like, I'm going to talk to that rat. I'm going to talk to that horse. What does a horse sound like? It's just making the Dungeon Master.
Monkey, do something.
Yeah, and I know other classes can speak with animals, but it's more, I don't know, that has provided me. I played all the classes, but those two have provided me a little bit more creativity. I think there are times also the Druid. I mean, when we're about to camp for the night, what I always do as a player, to the chagrin of anyone who's DMing, is I just cast all my spells, because I normally don't get to cast all my spells, so I use up all my spell slots real quick before we go to bed, which has been
everywhere.
Yes. Well, it's bitten me in the butt. It's definitely bitten me in the butt if something happens while we're sleeping. But yeah, most of the time before we even take a long rest, I haven't spent all my spell slots, and that always feels like blue balls. So anyway, the Druid is always like, I just like turning into animals, and sometimes there's no need for me to turn into animals, but if we're done for the day, then I'll wild shape as many times as I can.
Yeah, you really should have a dog. I'm glad you're thinking into getting it. Listen, you are sort of in a very privileged position in that you get to play with all these amazing like dungeon masters and all the rest of it. I mean, what's that like playing on these super high end places that we all want to go, like Crit Role? How do you think that's pushing the popularity of the sort of genre and the game itself? And where do you think it's going? Not to make the question too broad, but
no, I mean, it's very clear that Critical Role has made D&D cool and cinematic. What it's like as far as playing with the people I get to play with, it is so much of a treat that it's weird, because I know I take it for granted because those are the only people I play with. But I would say the difference between playing with them and playing with I guess people who were not in the entertainment industry, which I have played with before, it's not that different. It's just enthusiasm. So I've played with people, who they're not like trying to be actors, or they would not identify as an actor, or they wouldn't even identify as a writer necessarily, but they're like in it and down and like very into whatever they've made for their character, and it's identical. Like even if they have a fun little accent or a voice, or not, it's still the same. It's still on the same level. So I think enthusiasm is kind of the great equalizer, because I have played with some actors who maybe take themselves a little too seriously and don't get the play of Dungeons and Dragons, that it is like actually fun and a game.
The theater of it sort of thing, you know?
Right. So there's that. And then as far as making D&D where it's going to go, I mean, it's like, it's really odd to say that it's a high percentage of my income is from the game, or at least from things adjacent to the game. So my job is, there was a year where it was 80%, and now it's closer to like 30%. But you know, that fluctuates, and I keep track of it because I'm a nerd. But it is like a chunk. Like without D&D, I would not have. I would not be able to support myself. So at this point, I hope it keeps going, and I find, you know, new ways to delight myself in it, and I hope, and new ways to pay myself from it. So yeah, I hope it keeps going.
One of those things where if you do something you love, you'll be good at it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and also be careful about the stuff you put your time into, because one day someone will pay you for it, and then what do you do?
And then you're
like,
stuck doing it because it's your income.
Yes, exactly. Just be careful. Your hobbies can become your job, and be careful. You just have to be. I mean, it's worth saying that there was a time. I mean, it was a lot. There was a time where I was like, I'm burnt out on D&D, and that feels weird. But I can't right now.
That's honest. I like that, to hear like that, you know. I like that, you know, that sometimes you've over milked the cow, like, you know.
Yes, that's exactly how it felt. But yeah, we're back in business, and I don't know, it'll just go in waves. There was a time where I was like, I'm never playing D&D ever again, and of course that didn't happen. And
Throw the dice.
Yeah, it's like, I'm never drinking again. It's like, really? You're an alcoholic.
Wait till next weekend.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what we do, kind of following on from that, because we've talked about the Critical Role table and all that. So we ask all our guests that come on this is almost wasted on you. What is your fantasy table? If you could DM any table, but you've been at some really amazing tables.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No.
But if you could have any table,
people dead or alive,
go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So I would actually play with, I call them my queens, and they're like, so the other Venn diagram of me is I am pursuing an acting career that's going pretty well, as well, which is different from D&D, but also very, you know, it is a Venn diagram of the entertainment industry. So it would be a table of Frances McDormand, Olivia Colman, Tilda Swinton, Kate Winslet, Kate Blanchett, and Helena Bonham Carter, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the six.
Good shout.
Six. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, there would be. I don't know. I have like 20 queens. Those are I call them queens. But 20 women who I just admire, and I don't think any of those. God, I don't know. I think Dame Judi Dench has played D&D before.
Really?
But I'm not. Yeah, I think she has. So I guess anyway, I've got 20 people, 20 of those women, and I would love to run a game for them and teach them how to play D&D, or just run a game if they've already played it.
Yeah.
And have them make whatever characters they're going to make, and just that would just be a delight. I think. I think it would be like way less stressful than trying to act in it. Yeah, than to act in a scene across them, but. Maybe not. Maybe that would be. I don't know which would be more nerve-wracking. But yeah.
Well, so Amy, thank you very much for coming on and being part of our little show. And I hope you don't mind us referring to you as a friend of the show now, if that's okay with you.
Yes, I am a friend of the show. Can I plug something real quick?
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I came up. I'm going to do a Kickstarter, and it's going to launch on August 31st, 2021. And it is a musical comedy nerdy album called Behold Her Dreams. TBD how many songs are going to be on it. I think it'll be 10, but yeah, TBD if I like all 10 of them. But that'll start on August 31st, and some of the rewards are pretty cool. They're dice. We've got some dice, and one of them has a Jabberwocky face on it, which is just like
Nice.
very Vorpal sword. One has a Vorpal sword on it, and another one says Snicker Snack. So it's like a set of 3 dice. I've got some amazing pictures coming out that'll be, and then not to mention the songs itself. And this is like basically round 2 of my first album, which was Songs in the Key of D&D.
Absolutely, we know that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just another album that's very similar. That I just kind of came up with a bunch of songs during quarantine, and only the top 10 best ones are going to be on there. But there's already like just a pop love song. It's just a pop love song. That's it. It's not nerdy at all. So, but I think that it's mitigated by a song called "You Found Me," which is about. This is my favorite song that's going to be on the album. It's very musical theatery, but it's a character song where the girl is like, wow, you know, I walk into a gaming shop, you're there, and you fell in love with me because I play D&D. You found me. Call your mom. Like, stop looking for the perfect woman because you found me. And then it turns to, well, anyway, I'm glad that we're married now. Now I can show you my true self. I'm like a sociopath, and I fart a lot, and like I'm just like I'm so messed up and manic and all of that stuff. But anyway, I found you, and I'll never let you go. And so it's basically it's a commentary. Yeah, it's a commentary on a big part of my dating life, which was men going, "Wow, you play D&D? Yes, sign me up. I'm in. Yeah, let's get married. Let's I'm in. Like, I'm all in, actually." And I'm like, this is the first date, and that's all you know about me. Like that.
I could be as mad as a box of badgers. You have no idea.
Exactly. And there were some things that I was like, well, I'm also just a woman, so I have needs. Like I'm not just this like push a button and I play D&D with you. Like there's some give and take here, and
you have to wash the dishes.
You probably should get to know me, you know.
Oh my God.
All in. So it's just commentary. It's kind of a song that comes from an angry place, but that has turned into comedy. And I no longer have that feeling, but I think it's a pretty fun. Anyway, it includes that song. You Found Me.
That one's in there. That was it. That one's in there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, it has been our pleasure having you on this show. And with the end of the show upon us, I'd also want to thank everybody listening to the show. The show's going from strength to strength. You know, it's great. We're having a big guest on like Amy like this. This is amazing. You know, it's a real tip of the cap. And from Jamie and myself and from Amy, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. This was delightful.
Take care.
Okay.